Hello everybody, my name is J.S. Matthews and welcome back to another episode of Writing and Role-Playing. Now today we're going to continue on with our UDT, that's Ultimate Dungeon Terrain, and today we're going to make another two-sided one here, and we're going to do an icy terrain on one side as you see, and a snow field on the other. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Again, I start with my XPS foam. I got this from Home Depot. They're about $5 a piece or so. Again, I think inflation has made it worse. Once again, I kind of just cut the edges around, and I use a hot foam cutter, and I just did a whole group of these at once, and depending on how many you want to do, I mean, again, you can just do one at a time or whatever, but I did a lot more than that, and just snip off the edges, go all the way around. You can cut it in a nice circle if you like, but me, I like it kind of this big square. Now, here's what I did was I traced out some lines on where I wanted sort of the cracks in the ice. I decided I wanted sort of this center area, which is sort of like an icy bay or an icy lake, something like that. And I drew those lines on there, and then I just add an angle, use my knife there to just kind of my X-Acto knife and just cut at an angle along the lines, and then just pull out those little pieces as you can see. And I just kind of go over each line, and again, I don't cut them super deep, but it is pretty decent indent there as you can see. And that's kind of what it looked like at the end, all those little cracks kind of cut out and ready to go. And I did kind of mark where I wanted the outside of the water to be, but it just kind of changes as you go, so don't worry too much about it. Next up, we do a nice layer of black paint and Mod Podge. This one is just smooth black paint and Mod Podge. It's not, I didn't add anything to it. No, grout, anything like that, because obviously I want it to be nice and smooth on that ice. So give it a nice thick layer of this so we have a good sturdy playing field. Alright, now here's how it looks done. I showed you guys these before. We have that third one in the back there. First one obviously we've already done. We'll do that third one in the next episode. That'll be kind of fun. But I'm going to start with the painting now. I got this nice turquoise. I think it's called Navajo turquoise. And I just start in the middle here and just start slathering it on. And I wasn't sure how much I wanted at first, but by the end you'll see I really get a good layer of this on there. I really like that teal as the base. And again, with the black in there, it looks really good. It kind of darkens it up a little bit in some areas, but then keeps it light in others. So you're already starting to get that variation in tone, which is really what you want. So start off with the teal, and then we'll build our way up to some lighter colors. And here we go at the end. I covered the whole thing in a nice layer of that teal, as you can see. And then we moved on to this color. This is a aqua sort of color. I forgot what the name of the color was. You'll see it on the screen there if you want to see it. And then I take my brush here, and this is dry brushing again. I started here really light, and I realized I definitely needed to do more, but you can see I'm just going with those edges in each of those little cracks, and I go around the whole thing here. And again, dry brushing is you get a lot of paint on your brush, then you wipe almost all of it off onto a paper towel there. And again, I just kind of outlined every single crack, and I'm always pulling away from the cracks, and especially in the middle sections, I'm always pulling towards the middle, away from the edges of the cracks. And it really gives it this kind of frosty, icy look. And as you see, we're going to build up color as we go. We're going to start with this aqua and just give it a couple layers of this, and you're going to see it really build up to that cold, frosty, frozen, cracky, cracked, icy lake. Alright, now here I am again, just coming in with another layer of that aqua, and I really used pure aqua this time, none of the teal mixed in. And really just kind of, again, keep working it, use that dry brushing, don't get a lot on there, you can just keep adding. You can see how much lighter it gets here, and I just keep pulling in, and again, it really brings out the cracks, and it really starts making it look like that frozen, frosty lake that's kind of been windswept. Now in this section I took a teal wash, so I just added basically that same teal to some water with a little bit of dish soap, and I'm just going to brush this over the whole thing, and I pretty sure I used all of that water. I wanted to kind of darken up the recesses, really make those cracks kind of a little bit darker while keeping the higher parts lighter. So I just gave the whole thing a good brushing of that wash. Now in this next part here, I got practically a pure white. Mixed a little bit of the aqua in there, but it's almost pure white, and I just kind of highlight the edges of every single crack. It is a little tedious. You can tell my camera's getting a little shaky there. I might have to get a separate stand for my camera to hold on to because it gets a little shaky. Also, I need to get a newer camera, but that's okay. This is how it looks towards the end, highlighting all those cracks, really looking icy now. Well, you look like you have that really nice broken ice look to it. Now I take the white again, this is just pure white, and now I'm really going to give it another heavy dry brushing and just pulling away from those cracks consistently, as you can see here. And this is where we get the really good frosty frozen lake look that we're going for. Now you could even do more white than what I do as we go along here. That can really make it look even more icy and realistic, but I'm making this for more fantasy, and it's tabletop role-playing, so I kind of want it to look a little more, I like the color, I like the blue, I like the teal, so, but again, we're just going to keep pulling in from those edges and just keep going. A little bit of paint on the brush, wipe it off, really keep very little paint on that brush. As you can see, I'm definitely doing more than I did before with the aqua, but it really helps to just kind of pull away from those edges. And ultimately, I think it looks pretty good. Gives it a really nice, snowy, icy finish. Here we have it, looking pretty good. And I was really satisfied with those results. Next thing we're going to get is a really nice thick layer of glossy Mod Podge. As you can see there, it's glossy. You don't want to do the matte here. This is our ice, our water, so I just grabbed a little paintbrush there and I just started just globbing it on there. Definitely get it down in those recesses. You really want to get it down in there. Again, this is going to seal our paints in, and it's also going to make the playing space really, really durable, while also giving it that really nice sheen, that icy sheen. Now, as you can see here, I'm going to start taking my snow powder here. This is really cheap. I mean, it's $3, and I think I got 2 of these, and it worked for both sides, and I still have extra for some other terrain, which I'll probably make in another episode. But all I do is throw down some PVA glue and just brush it around, and then just start dumping that snow on in a nice layer. And it looks pretty good. It definitely looks like it's snow on ice, but I kind of wanted this to be the edge of the lake. You'll see here. I do change this up a little bit, but as we go along here, I just keep dumping it back in, and you get a little bit everywhere, but I'd probably use a bigger bowl than I used. Ultimately, this is how it looked, but I was a little, again, I didn't like the way it looked, kind of like, it didn't look like the bank of the lake. So I went around with some white paint, and I just kind of added a white layer around the edge so it looks like, an edge of the lake. So I have the snow powder, then a layer of the white between the lake and that. And this is kind of the final product. Looks pretty good. However, we also have a second side. Now, I know this kind of looks a little weird, but I wanted some good texture, so I got some dirt on there and PVA glue and just poured some dirt on. And then I grabbed some nice blue acrylic paint. This is a medium blue. And just kind of started dumping it on there. My problem was this was a bit of an older bottle of paint, and it had some really nasty globs in it, and so I had to keep kind of pulling those out. That's why I wasn't dumping it straight on there, because those globs kept coming out. I think I get a little lazy towards the end, and I'm like, nah, forget it, and I just start dumping it on there, which happens when you're crafting. To be honest, who cares? It's all right, unless you're really into the artistic side of this. Make it playable and make it up to your standard. Don't worry, you're not entering an art contest. At least I don't think so. I'm not. I just make it for me. As long as I like it, I really could care less. So I got that nice thick layer of blue on there. And once that finished up, I decided to come back in with that teal, that Navajo teal, Navajo turquoise. And all I did was just kind of start wet blending it in. So that blue paint is still wet. And I just kind of started blending them together so I could get myself some lighter areas in there. So we'll have the dark blue, even some of the black in there. And then we also get a little bit of that teal. And just kind of wet blend it in. And yeah, you get to get some variation in color and variation in light and dark. And after that dried, I decided to grab this color right here, crystal blue. It's a really light blue. And we're gonna do just a dry brush, and it's a little heavier of a dry brush. There's still not a lot on my paintbrush, but I'm gonna start hitting this. But again, if you notice, I'm not covering everything. This is a dry brush. I want those dark blue areas to stay. I want the teal to kind of stand out, and it really does. This really does a trick. As you can see as we go along here, I just start doing layer after layer after layer. Again, if you feel like it's not light enough, just throw a little more paint on your brush, brush it off on the paper towel, and go over that area again. And it really starts highlighting those high areas. And you're already starting to notice that we're really getting that change in color in the darker areas and the lighter areas. And now I just take some pure white, and I'm going to do the exact same thing with this. I'm going to hit it with a really nice dry brush. This is even a little bit more heavy, to be honest, which is kind of what I wanted. I wanted the dark blue underneath it, the teal and the lighter blue. And once you get that, it really looks good. And the thing is, snow is not pure white. When you really look at it outside, a lot of times you see variations of grays and blues and all sorts of stuff. And I really wanted to capture that here. Again, this is supposed to be like a really frozen wasteland. This is not just, oh hey, it's nice and snowy. This is tundra, it's up north, it's supposed to be cold, and that's really what I was going here. So I just did layer after layer of that dry brushing, as you can see. And ultimately, I think it turned out pretty good. Alright, the last thing I did was I did some layers of that snow powder. I had a bunch of that left, so I just did layer after layer of that, and then did a little more white paint over it. I didn't get that one on camera, but this is the final product, and I think it looks really, really good. Ah, if it isn't my favorite band of adventurers. Back for more work, eh? Well, have I got a job for you? You've heard the stories, haven't you? The stories of a ship loaded with treasures, taken from the ancient dragon barrows and frozen crypts, only to be lost in the icy waters of the Northlands. Now, it sits there, waiting for a group of adventurers brave enough, or perhaps foolish enough, to try and retrieve it. It is not an easy road to the north. You will face bandits, barbarians, and worse. The very land itself is cold and desolate, but at the end is a prize worth the dangerous journey. Of course, once you find it, you must remain wary, for nothing so valuable would ever give itself up so easily. But what am I saying? You're professionals. I'm sure you have nothing to worry about. Alright, well thanks for joining me again for another episode of Writing and Role-Playing. I got another one already ready to go, so hopefully that'll be up soon. Anyways, if you enjoyed this, leave a like, maybe even subscribe. I got plenty other dungeon goodness coming your way. We're going to do some talking about some of my tabletop role-playing games I'm working on, as well as some more crafting and some more advice on writing. Anyways, hope you all have a great day. Thanks again for checking out my videos, and I will catch you in the next one, and I hope you all take care now.